Hi. If your shoulder has become harder to lift over your head this year, try this for 10 seconds. Reach your right arm overhead, as high as comfortable. Notice where it gets tight. Now, sit back and gently bring your left knee toward your chest. Notice that too. If both of those felt tight, your body may have just shown you something most people never discover. Large observational studies suggest that nearly half of adults over 60 report stiffness in more than one joint at the same time, and most are never told why. Here's why that matters. Two joints on opposite sides of your body, seemingly unrelated, may actually be part of the same story. I had a patient who learned this the hard way. Rosa, 67, a retired seamstress, grandmother of 5, still made her own clothes until her shoulder stopped letting her reach the top shelf of her sewing cabinet. Doctor, my shoulder is frozen and somehow my hips feel just as tight. What's wrong with me? My name is Dr. Kaiser, and this is the Health Signal. Stay with me, because by the end, you'll understand exactly why Rosa's shoulder and her hips were never two separate stories, and what to do about it tonight. Rosa assumed it was two separate problems: arthritis in the shoulder, age catching up with her hips. It's not arthritis alone. It's not simply age either. Here's one reason this may happen that I think you'll find genuinely interesting. Your muscles aren't the only thing holding your body together. There's a separate connective tissue wrapped around every muscle, every joint, almost like a body stocking running from your scalp to your toes. Doctors call it fascia. But you don't need to remember that word. What matters is what it does. When one section of that tissue tightens, the tension doesn't always stay where it started. It can travel along this chain to a joint that seems completely unrelated. Researchers and many physical therapists have been exploring exactly this kind of hidden link. And it's exactly what was happening to Rosa. Her shoulder and her opposite hip appeared to be connected through the same chain of connective tissue. She just never knew it was there. Here's the part that surprises almost every patient I explain this to. This connected system doesn't always run straight up and down on the same side of your body. If your right shoulder is the stiff one, it's often your left hip that's actually involved, not the right one. Wait, you might be thinking, my right shoulder and my left hip? Those are on opposite sides of my body entirely. Exactly. The tissue appears to cross diagonally through your core, the same way the fibers of a woven basket cross each other to hold their shape. The test you did a minute ago, right arm up, left knee to chest, that's exactly this hidden link. If both felt tight, you weren't imagining a coincidence. Rosa's case was the classic version of this. Right shoulder, left hip, one chain, two complaints. So why does this tighten more after 60 than it did at 40? Picture a wool sweater that's been worn for years without ever being stretched. The fibers don't tear, they just compress closer together until the whole sweater feels stiffer than it used to, even though nothing is actually broken. That's close to what appears to happen to this connection with age and repeated, limited movement. It tends to tighten first wherever it gets used the least, or held in the same position the longest. For Rosa, decades of sewing meant one shoulder doing small, repetitive motion for hours, while her hips spent those same hours locked in a seated position. Two different postures, one connection, slowly losing its give in both places at once. This is the part that changed how I explain stiffness to patients now. Her shoulder and her hips weren't competing problems. They were one story, told from both ends. A study following adults over 60 with frozen shoulder found that most also reported some degree of hip or lower back stiffness. Far more often than chance alone would explain. Not occasionally, far more often than chance would explain. That's one possible explanation researchers and many physical therapists have been exploring. And it's not the only connection like it. There appears to be a small number of these, including one running from your neck down to your lower back, and another from your calf up toward the base of your skull. So the real question was never just, why is my shoulder frozen? It's, is there a connection involved, and where else might it be pulling? Be honest. When you tried that test a minute ago, which side felt tighter? Tell me in the comments. There's a second layer that explains something almost every patient with this pattern mentions. It's always worse first thing in the morning. Most people assume that's simply from lying still for hours. Actually, stillness is exactly the problem. This connective tissue depends partly on movement to stay hydrated. It holds water, and gentle movement appears to help redistribute it through the fibers, the same way wringing a sponge redistributes water through it. 8 hours of overnight stillness means 8 hours without that redistribution. By morning, the tightest sections of your connection are at their driest point of the entire day. This is why stiffness almost always eases somewhat as the day goes on. I want to tell you about a second patient because his experience shows exactly what happens when you treat only one end of the connection. Frank, 71, a retired carpenter, spent 6 months in physical therapy for his frozen shoulder. Exclusively, the shoulder genuinely improved, but his opposite hip never came up in a single session. A year later, Frank told me his hip had quietly gotten tighter the entire time his shoulder was healing. I thought the shoulder was the whole problem. I didn't think they were related. Frank's shoulder healed completely. The other end of his connection was never touched at all. Rosa's case went differently, mainly because we treated both ends, not just the joint that happened to be screaming the loudest. Rosa had quietly decided that reaching the top shelf was over for her. We didn't just stretch her shoulder. We worked both ends, gently, a few minutes a day. 8 weeks in, she called my office. "Doctor, I reached the top shelf yesterday." Her hip had loosened right alongside her shoulder, not because we treated two problems, because we'd finally treated the connection between them. Before I show you the movements, let's fix both, starting now. Movement 1, the wall shoulder slide. Stand facing a wall, forearms resting against it at shoulder height. Slowly slide your arms upward as far as comfortable. Hold for 2 seconds. Slide back down, 8 to 10 repetitions. Movement 2, the seated hip opener, on the opposite hip from your tight shoulder. Sitting in a sturdy chair, cross that ankle gently over the opposite knee and lean forward slightly from the hips, not the back. Hold for 20 to 30 seconds. Movement 3, the standing thigh reach, same side as that hip. Holding a chair for balance if needed. Gently bring that heel toward your glutes, holding your ankle if you can reach it, or simply bending the knee as far as comfortable. 10 to 15 seconds. Do all 3 once a day in any order. 5 to 7 minutes total. This isn't about forcing range of motion. It's about reminding the tissue, gently and repeatedly, that movement is still available to it. 2 more details that genuinely help. Since this tissue depends partly on hydration, drinking water consistently appears to support pliable tissue. And gentle heat, a warm shower or a heating pad, appears to help the tissue respond more easily. Now, when this needs more than home movements, if a frozen shoulder makes it difficult to sleep at all, if hip stiffness comes with sharp pain, or if either one is getting worse despite weeks of movement, that's the point to involve a physical therapist or your doctor. A few questions people ask me constantly about this. My shoulder and hip are tight on the same side, not opposite sides. Does this still apply? Yes, Some people experience the straight version of this connection. Either way, checking both ends is worth it. How long before I notice anything? Rosa noticed her hip loosening within about 3 weeks, with the shoulder taking closer to 8. Weeks, not days, is the honest expectation. Can I do these if I have arthritis? Generally, yes, but check with your doctor first. Is this the same as foam rolling? Related, but these movements work the tissue through its natural range, using your own muscles, which tends to be gentler. Quick checklist before we wrap up. The next time your shoulder feels stiff, don't just check your shoulder. Check the opposite hip too. Do the wall slide, the seated hip opener, and the standing thigh reach. Once a day. Stay hydrated and involve a professional if needed. Rosa reached her top shelf again. Frank eventually started on his hip too. Your body is always communicating with you. You just have to know how to listen. Your shoulder and hip have been trying to tell you the same story this whole time. Which end of the connection is tighter for you right now? Tell me in the comments. If this helped you, hit like and subscribe to The Health Signal. I'm Dr. Kaiser. There's another video on the screen where I go deeper into morning stiffness. Click on it now. I'll see you there.